All right, with that said, let's settle down and get into it. This young lady, she was in the locksmith business, decided when she saw a network market, ATM made so much sense. She got started, went out there, started building the business, and I tell you what, she is just full of excitement, full of knowledge. And she went out there and decided to call Tony Cooper and said, "Will you come to Texas?" And she had nobody in the city. She said, "Well," he said, "Yeah." And she said, "Uh oh, now I got to really go to work." Folks, when was the last time you put yourself on a line by having somebody come out in your area and you really went to work? See, that's what will push you into what I call greatness, in a greatness. Not just a good leader, but greatness, because it takes a lot to do that. And she filled up the place and done so well. And then her leaders come down and help her, decide to blow it up. And I tell you what, I just love her. I love her to death. Without further, as a matter of fact, last time we were in Lake Tahoe, we walked in late because we had to do a conference like this, and I walked in behind her. I figured if anybody's gonna get in trouble, I was with her. I walked behind her into the. About 10 of us walked behind her in the meeting late because we had to do our conference from live from up there. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Miss Roxann Corralejo.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I was going to talk about that today, but from a different perspective. So you guys, yes, I'm in Lake Tahoe. Most of you have heard about a training that we have out here. And I see a lot of people on the call that were out here in Lake Tahoe. So it's great to see you guys. Even some of the guys, it looks like you're traveling, Tim, Pierre, back to the airport probably. So if you guys are still driving, I know I saw Zach that was driving. It's okay. Turn the cameras on. I like to see your faces. I like to have a conversation with you. But first and foremost, I do want to give it back to Mr. Thomas, and it's going to go back to my topic today, just kind of thanking you for this platform. Like you had mentioned, like, congratulations, it's about time. Every single time I receive a call or a text from Mr. Thomas, especially a call, I'm like, everybody shut up, stop talking. It's Mr. Thomas, be quiet. And people around me are like, who is this guy? Oh my gosh. And they get all excited and they have no idea what's happening. But I'm like, shh, I need to hear this conversation. But it's because of how he makes me feel. And I know I'm not that only person that feels that way. I know there are probably so many people out there. And it's just, I am so grateful to know you and to be able to be mentored by you, in just to have this platform and everything that you do, not only for me, but for everybody else. And I give you that level of respect where everybody around me has to shut up, even if I'm in an airport, because you deserve it because of how you make me feel. So I appreciate you. I appreciate all of that. And when it came to Tahoe, which is so funny. So he said he didn't want to get in trouble, but it was such a great feeling because he did have a handful of people with him. And there was another gentleman that wasn't part of his group, but he was still here in Lake Tahoe and excited to see Mr. Thomas. And we're all walking together and he's telling everybody to walk behind me, walk behind the boss. The boss goes in first. So at this point, I'm feeling really excited. I'm like, all right, Mr. Thomas. I didn't know it's because he didn't want to get in trouble. But then the other gentleman that was with us starts walking a little bit faster. I'm in high heels, you guys. I live at 0 elevation, high heels in this. I don't even know where I'm at, like 70-foot elevation, 70,000. I don't know the numbers. I can't breathe. I'm walking hecka slow, and these men are walking behind me, trailing behind me, poor guys. It was crazy. So one gentleman started walking up and he said, "No, sir, get behind us. Roxann goes first. She's the leader. She's the person. She's the queen. Let Roxann go." So that is part of my topic today, is just, who are you serving? Who are you making feel that way? The reason why, not only just because of his success and the amazing person that he is, but the reason why a lot of people just jump whenever Mr. Thomas calls them, or some of the other leaders in ACN, is because of how servant they are to us. We want to do the same thing to them. So if you're thinking about your business and your career, and I see so many heads shaking because they feel the exact same way, is who are you serving? So here in Lake Tahoe, we have a great training that's more hands-on, role-playing, objection handling. It's really, really good training. And Tony Kupis comes out here, and he had a few words yesterday, late in the evening. And one of the things I wrote down, I really didn't need to write down, but it just is the environment of ACN as a whole. And he was talking about ACN and the business and how we're going and moving everybody into to the US to start this big tour in all these different states and cities and go everywhere. Mr. Tony Kupis will be has this whole Texas tour traveling every single day, a different city, you guys. Some of these cities, Lubbock and Houston is 7.5 hours away. And he's one day in Houston, the very next day in Lubbock. He's going to be in Dallas. He's going to be in San Antonio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I'm going to keep up with you. Like, this is crazy how much they're working. But he said, it's for you. That was one of the things, is like, we're not doing this to or for us. We're doing this for you. If we're not serving people, we don't want to do it. And that's the fact. And the truth is, birds of a feather flock together. So that is why Mr. Thomas found his home here. That is why Mrs. Jocelyn Driscoll found her home here. Mrs. Renata Kumar. All these leaders, there's one of the common aspects for all of these leaders is that they strive to serve other people. Every conversation I have is not about them. It's not about their success. It's not about what they did. It's about how they can help me. It's about how they can help other people, how they can help the team, how they can help people that aren't even part of their team. And that's one of the things that I love so much, is that we're a big hodgepodge of teams that are just come together. And I love it, is because we all fit in so well. So when I started my career, I didn't say I want to grow up to be a network marketer. That wasn't me. I didn't even know what the heck that was. I started out pre-med, which most people don't even know, and I didn't like that environment. And then I switched, okay, let's go into biology. It's going to be a different environment. And then I left that industry in that field because I'm like, well, you know what? I don't feel like I'm going to make a difference here. And that's when I started my own locksmith company, because I'm like, all right, this is something where I can serve other people. I can help people that are in need. And I did a couple of things along the way, but I really truly found my home in ACN. And that is because of the ability that we have not only to make money, but to serve people. And which is so funny that Mrs. Jocelyn Driscoll said, I think it was sometime last week, and it threw me off because I would have never heard it from Jocelyn Driscoll. But she said, how people talk about the money doesn't make you happy. And she goes, well, you know what? Being broke doesn't either. And I was laughing and I said, oh my goodness, from Jocelyn Driscoll, really? But it's the truth and it's a fact, because the more that we can accumulate, the more that we can help and give other people. And that was her point. So I ask you, in your business, in your world, in your community, in your family, are you serving people? And the reason why network marketing gets such a bad rep is because most aren't. And I see it so much in different industries where they're just hoarding their people and they're just doing what they can so that they can make the most amount of money. And that's not the environment I see here in ACN, which is why I fell in love. So it's not really truly network marketing. It's ACN. It's the people. This is what I fell in love with. That's why I made this my home. But when we're talking to our team, when we're going out prospecting, are you thinking, and I hope that you're not, especially if you're on this call, but are you thinking like, oh, this could be another one of my reps? I wonder how much I'm going to make as an executive team leader, regional coordinator, regional director. It's great to know the compensation plan, but it's great to know it so you can teach it. So you can teach it and share it with other people. And when we're launching people, I see a big drop in the launches. So when we get someone on board, they're excited, they're ready to go. But then on the launches, and you focus on a whole launch suite, getting their back office set up, make sure they get all the services in, doing everything that they have to, accredited for everything, all that stuff. Now you're spending 3-4 hours with someone and you did not talk to a single other person. You did not put a presentation on the books. That's where a lot of people are falling off, because they're saying, oh, it's too hard. I don't want to do this. But I feel like if we're setting up all these services, we're thinking only about ourselves. If we're trying to see and maximize how many services we can get them, yes, they get a paycheck, but then that also goes into our book of business. The one thing we want to do to keep them excited is get them a presentation. And so one of the big shifts in my business and how I started gaining momentum is because I started following the launch sheet. Every time I sat down with someone, I did a whole launch. I sat down with someone, I did a whole launch. And it took forever and it was draining for the other person and they didn't want to see me again. All of a sudden they're in witness protection. So then I said, you know what? I'm just going to generate momentum. And yes, qualifying them gets them paid and it gets us paid, but I want them excited first. I want to keep that excitement. So at the very first meeting, even when they first sign up, I always ask, who's your best friend? Who do you know? Who's going to follow you just because it's you? Who's going to listen just because it's you? And I get a sent text right away. An instant text says, oh my God, I just saw something. I'm super excited. I thought of you. Super simple. Now, a lot of people tend to slow that part down, or let the new rep send those texts and messages and contacts on their own. Hey, here's the scripts. Now let's get 20 people in your living room. And all of a sudden they have no guests for a PBR that they scheduled. And it's like, well, what happened? Well, I texted everybody. No one wanted to show up. Be there with them. We're here to serve them. Once they sign up, we're with them. We're their security blanket. They feel so much more comfortable making these contacts with us just sitting there. Let me take a look at time, making sure. So one of my girls, love her to death, Trish. She's been on this call several times. She's freaking phenomenal. She's great. Had that very first launch with her, set up all those meetings. And that's the first thing we did is we set up meetings. I was like, you know what? I'll worry about her services later. Let's just set up these meetings. Because if she doesn't have any of the services, then where are we going to get them from? The people that say no. If we didn't do a presentation yet, we don't have anybody that says no yet. So we send out these and we have her first meeting, and then she wants to schedule her second meeting. She's hecka excited. She's like, I got this. And then all of a sudden messages me. She's like, Roxann, I'm just getting no's. I'm getting no's. I'm getting no's. I can't get anybody in a room. Nobody wants to talk to me anymore. And I said, okay, no problem. Come to my house. She came to my house. All I did was sit there, send my own messages. As she's making calls, she's sending texts. And guess what? All of a sudden we have 7 confirmations. She's like, I just need you next to me. So are you spending your time with your person to make them feel comfortable? Me next to her, all it did was build her confidence. I didn't have to do anything. And sometimes that's the truth. Sometimes all we have to do is spend our time with someone. So are you listening to your team? Are you identifying what they need? And are you here to serve them and not thinking about how many people can I bring in from them, get qualified so I get paid? So there's 2 different ways to think about this, and you might not be realizing you're thinking about it that way. Miss Carrie Roeder this weekend was talking about Mrs. Jocelyn Driscoll and said, I can guarantee you Jocelyn is not waiting and looking for those announcements. She doesn't know how much money she gets deposited into her account every Friday. She doesn't really pay attention to those direct deposits, but I can guarantee you one thing she does is she can't wait for those text messages. Oh my God, I got another residual check. Oh my God, I got a promotion. And I feel the exact same way. When those messages come in, it is so exciting. Whatever comes in my bank account, I'm not even paying attention to. It's those $13 residual checks for that very first check that is more exciting, because we know that it can only go up from there. So are you celebrating your team? Are you celebrating those little wins? Are you here to serve them the same way our leaders have served us? Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Driscoll, Carrie Roeder, Renata Kumar. I mean, everybody that Curtis Evans, everybody that's even on this call. I can tell you that I've absorbed all this information, and everything that I give out and I serve to you guys, I have absorbed myself. Nothing is new. And I say that all the stinking time because that's the truth of it. Maybe the excitement, the excitement and the energy, that's all me. But everything else, I just pick up from everybody else because it's exciting. So the reason why my career has changed is because even in those industries and those fields, I did not find my passion, which was to serve other people. I didn't even know that was my passion. And I never, ever thought that would be ACN. So are you identifying that in other people as well? So helping to serve other people is also helping them identify their reason why. And some don't, helping them dig deeper. And we've talked about that before, is that I did not know this is where I wanted to be and wanted to call home until someone showed me. Are you helping your team through those steps? And I know sometimes it gets daunting when they have that wall up. Are you breaking down the wall? Are you putting in that effort? So much of ACN isn't just acquiring services. Like we said, we are relationship marketing. We got to build those relationships, get people to trust you, do it genuinely. If you're fake about it, they're not going to trust you no matter what you do. Mr. Thomas is genuine. I can wholeheartedly feel that. Now, I know he just didn't want to get in trouble and didn't want to be the first one to walk through the door. I know that he was doing it to uplift me. But what was so funny about that too is that you see me and a handful of people, and then Mr. Thomas, and then a handful more people, like he's in the crowd. And then as soon as we walk in, Mr. Basutti, I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm the first person through this door. Mr. Basutti says, oh, and here's L. Thomas. And I'm like, oh, I'm not important anymore. Which is so great. But I had that 15 minutes of feeling important Are you doing that for your team, you guys? That is what got me going and said, you know what? I will be an SVP. When I first started this, I was like, nah, I'll be somewhere in the middle. But feeling that way from what we get from other leaders, that's why I said I am an SVP. Not I will be, I am. The results just haven't caught up yet. I'm just collecting the evidence along the way. The reason being is because Mr. Thomas made me feel like an SVP. Reason being is because Mr. Dean Trolley makes me feel like an SVP. That is why. Are you doing that for your team? Are you telling them they're senior vice presidents? Are you telling them that they can accomplish these things? They will accomplish these things because you're doing it with them. Not that they're gonna go out and do it all themselves. You're doing it with them. You will help them get there. You will help them succeed. So you guys, what the trick to ACN is what we've already seen through every single one of our leaders is just be a servant leader. Just serve other people, and that is how we will generate the most amount of success. And I see that every single day. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. I appreciate you. I have a really always, and I say this every time, appreciate all that you've done for me, my confidence, and just how you've been able to uplift me and every single person around you. So thank you so much.